Hello, I'm Roger Ballard, CEO of Nuvision Credit Union, and welcome to Nuvision Insights. It's great to be here and have the opportunity to connect with our members. We feel it's important to provide our members direct access to credit union leadership, share insights on the state of the banking industry, and share information on what's happening at your credit union, Nuvision Credit Union. There will be time for your questions at the end of this webinar. It's a fairly brief presentation. And so to submit a question, click the Q&A icon at the bottom of the Zoom screen, and then you can type your question in the box. And I'll repeat these instructions a little bit later as we get closer to taking the questions. So many of our members have joined the credit union at different times. So some have been members with Nuvision for many years, and others may be newer to the credit union. So I thought it might be valuable to share a bit of an overview about Nuvision Credit Union as it operates today in 2023. Nuvision Credit Union has been serving hardworking members for over 85 years. And we have enjoyed steady growth over that time period, thanks to the outstanding support of our member owners. We currently have 26 branch offices in 5 different geographical markets. That's in Alaska, Arizona, Southern California, Wyoming, and Washington, as well as a robust online and mobile banking platform. We serve over 150,000 members that have joined us through their affiliations with employer groups, such as Boeing and Chugach Electric and many, many others. And through our affiliations with communities in the communities that we operate in. We have taken over 85 plus years, we've taken a conservative, steady approach to growth. Today, Nuvision has assets of approximately $3 billion and a net worth ratio of about 11%, which far exceeds regulatory requirements for net worth. And I'll say a little bit more about that later in my comments. Now, Nuvision Credit Union has a purpose and a vision that certainly help guide us as we do our daily work to serve our members. Our purpose at Nuvision, we help build lives for people. We're talking about our members, our member owners, our community, and our team members. I'm really honored to be able to have the privilege of working with over 500 talented team members who make Nuvision Credit Union work for our members each and every day. And then our vision is Nuvision's passion and commitment to enhance members' lives will achieve best-in-class member experience. That is really focused on what I call aspirational, because we're always looking, the bar for best-in-class experiences is always going up. And while we're far from perfect, I can tell you, myself and my colleagues we are dedicated to doing our best to keep improving the member experience and making banking with Nuvision even easier for our members. And I'll highlight some of the recent ways that we're trying to make improvements. I think more than anything, I want you to know, when I talk about kind of Nuvision here in 2023 is Nuvision continues to be safe, strong, and secure. And we are committed to keeping our member owners informed because we are a cooperative and it's the right thing to do. And again, we remain focused on serving our members' needs and to help them build the lives that they want. We're here for you. And as this Nuvision Insights, it's a kind of a new program that we're trying. Well, in fact, at the end, I'll talk about how we're going to be sending a survey because we have a few more of these Nuvision Insights planned, and we'll likely vary the topics. But your feedback about how valuable and how ways that we can make them even more valuable would really be helpful to us. So I'll talk about the survey that we'll send out a little bit later. So for this particular Nuvision Insights, as I alluded to earlier, there are 2 important topics that we wanted to share our thoughts and insights with you today. First is, in light of the recent news and uncertainty surrounding the banking industry, that it might be valuable to share my thoughts and perspectives and provide you some insights into how the turmoil in the banking industry affects, or more accurately, doesn't impact Nuvision Credit Union and your deposits. Second, I'd like to share some of the recent improvements and new projects we're working on here at Nuvision to improve the member experience. So first up, we'll talk about the banking industry. Many of you no doubtly heard, read many things about recent developments and then that impact a small number of banks that have failed in the past few months, starting really in the middle of March or so. There's been 3 bank failures, so we'll talk some about that. You may have questions, particularly about how this may affect Nuvision and, again, the safety of your funds. And I'll differentiate how Nuvision is really different than the banks that ran into trouble. But I want to start off by just reviewing some of the issues that faced these banks. I'm not going to get into kind of name-specific comments, but I can speak more broadly to some of the themes that impacted this group of banks that ran into trouble. But first, I want to kind of provide a little bit of perspective because some may not kind of know some of these numbers. So there was 3 bank failures in recent months. That's out of roughly 4,000 banks in the US. So 3 failures out of 4,000. It's a very small number of banks. And just for reference, there's about 4,700 credit unions in the US as well. So 3 banks ran into trouble out of 4,000. However, I don't want to discount the concern, especially with the media attention, mainstream media and social media, and how it was being covered, certainly understandably caused concerns among consumers and many small businesses. The good news is that the overwhelming, in my opinion, and in my view, based on my career and knowledge of both the banking and credit union industry, the good news is the overwhelming majority of banks and credit unions are well run and safe. The overwhelming majority of banks and credit unions are well run and safe. So I think that's really important to know. Generally, the issues with these 3 banks, at least in some degree, some of these issues affect some more than others, but just generally, as at a macro level, there was really kind of 3 kind of major kind of issue areas, you might say. Problems that were unique. The first one, problems unique to their situation or business model. Secondarily, they had some very rapid growth or a narrow niche customer base. And then third, and this will really affect all of them to an extent, is coupled with the impact of rising interest rates on their investment strategy. I think it's well known that the Federal Reserve has been increasing interest rates, and this impacted their investment strategy. So some of the characteristics of these failed banks included, again, some effect of the same issues or characteristics affect the same bank, and some only affected different impacts. So some are ands or some are ors. So extreme growth over a short period of time. If you look back at some of these banks that ran into trouble, you look back at the, say, 2 or 3 years preceding their failure, they had very rapid growth, far beyond the pace of growth of their peer banks. A small group of startups and wealthy individuals at some of these banks held a majority of deposits. So these banks had a concentration risk of a large proportion of their deposits being held by this small group. And then that a large portion of those deposits were above the federal insurance limits, up to, in some cases, over 80% of their deposits were uninsured, so beyond the federal insurance limits. And you add into that the impact of rising interest rates, as I alluded to earlier, the impact of these rising investor rates on their investments, which caused them to have unrealized losses in a large proportion relative to their capital levels. And that's really key. Some of these banks ran into that issue. And all of this, combined with the media attention and such, really caused fear. And fear in these cases, again, combining some of these issues, resulted in some of these cases, a run on deposits due to concerns. And certainly there's many who have said that they believe how connected we are, especially with social media, certainly amplified some of that fear and the run on deposits in these 3 banks that ran into some trouble. Again, some more than others. But one of the good news here is none of the depositors lost any funds. all the depositors were protected, and their funds were protected based on the actions taken by the government. So that, I think, can cause, can give us all some, kind of relief that depositors were taken care of. But it certainly did cause concern, why we wanted to, share some information about this. But I also want to share that how Nuvision is entirely different from these banks that ran into trouble. And let me tell you a little bit more about how we're different. So we're different from the banks that experience difficulties in a number of ways. Some of those include we've been consistent and focused on the long-term health of the credit union and our members for over 85 years. We're focused on serving hardworking members and steady growth for over our entire history and as we go forward. We're also focused on traditional banking principles of protecting your hard-earned funds through sound conservative business practices. And Nuvision's business model, membership-based and investment strategy, is different than these banks that experience problems. Our first priority will always be the health of our credit union and our members' financial well-being, not driving maximum profits, not driving maximum growth. We're quite satisfied with steady growth by serving our members well. That's what we're always focused on, not maximizing profits or growth. That's not what we're about. We're about helping our members achieve their goals and providing you a great experience. That's what we strive to do, and always looking to how we can improve doing just that. Nuvision, like most credit unions, takes a very safe and conservative approach, which has benefited members as we continue to prosper, grow, and add new services. And I'll talk about some of the new services and the investments in enhancing your experience in just a few minutes here. And very importantly, for the safety and security of the credit union, our net worth ratio at Nuvision is about 11%. I mentioned this earlier. That 11% net worth ratio far exceeds the required 7% needed to be classified as a well-capitalized credit union by our regulator. Now, what does that mean? So a higher net worth ratio, such as the Nuvision has, shows that a credit union has a greater cushion of capital and is financially secure. You might think of it kind of like net worth as a credit union savings account. The more money in the savings account, the more financial stable the credit union is, and the more capacity we have to navigate economic uncertainty. So we're in a very strong position thanks to our history of sound, prudent practices, and again, the outstanding support of our over 150,000 members. In addition to the strength of Nuvision and our outstanding members and our financial position, we also offer federal deposit insurance, which can also offer another reason why members can feel good about Nuvision. We're safe, we're sound, and we're secure. Now, your deposits are federally insured up to at least $250,000. And we offer insurance through the National Share Insurance Fund, which is basically the credit union's equivalent to what the banks offer. And this fund is insurance is backed by the full faith and credit of the US government. Nuvision has, I mentioned how some of the banks that had some problems had uninsured deposits of 80% or higher in some cases. Nuvision has a very low percentage of our deposits being uninsured, about 8%. More of our deposits are spread, kind of more evenly across our members compared to some of the banks that ran into trouble. And we can structure accounts that can offer even greater insurance coverage depending on your particular situation. I think, and I'm not an expert as well as my staff is, but for example, if you have joint owners on the account or how you structure your beneficiaries, in some instances we can, and depending on your situation and your account structure, we can help you get insurance up to $1 million or so. So many of our members have already contacted us up this year, and we've reviewed their account structure and their questions, and in some cases we're able to suggest some ways to restructure their accounts. And if you haven't done that and you would be interested in doing that, please contact one of our branch offices or give us a call in our contact center, and we can review your accounts to make sure you're taking full advantage of this federal insurance. And I want you to know, I've been at Nuvision CO for 18 years. This year is also my 30th year as a CEO in the credit union industry, worked in the credit union industry my entire life. So I've been through a number of economic cycles. I've seen a few things, shall we say, including the Great Recession back in 07, 08, and much more. And with that knowledge and my confidence and knowledge about Nuvision and its strength, I want you to know that I have complete confidence in Nuvision and our ability to navigate any of the challenges ahead and any economic cycles ahead. We've got every reason, in my view, to feel good about where we are and how we can continue to serve members' needs as we go forward. And so if you have additional questions about any of the information that I covered, or just this topic overall, if you have a question maybe I didn't get to, I'd encourage you to submit your questions. Again, you can use the Q&A icon at the bottom of the Zoom screen, and you can type your question in the box, or you can also do a follow-up email, and I'll remind you how to do that a little bit later in this presentation. So that concludes just my comments on the banking industry. I hope that was valuable for you. And so let's shift gears now and look at some of the work that myself and our team, emphasis on the team, has been doing to invest in new ways to enhance your banking experience at Nuvision Credit Union. Really proud of the work they've done. So Nuvision is continually introducing new ways to make your banking experience work best for you. Whether, again, we know some of our members, they want to engage with us over the phone, only through the app, through the branches, or through all the above. So again, we want members to be able to choose the way they want to do their banking with us, banking as a verb. And so we invite that. And as I mentioned in the vision statement about experience, we know that bar is always going up. We're never fully there, so we're always working to make improvements in your experience. And these are just some of the examples that I'm about to go over about recent improvements that we've either made or we're in the process of making. So we know more and more members prefer to bank through digital channels. Your online browser, your online banking, or through your phone. So many of our members enjoy the convenience of using our mobile banking app. And just as a proof point about how much our members are taking advantage of some of those digital services, you might say, in the first quarter, just the first 3 months of 2023, we had over 4 million logins to our online banking platform from over 87,000 unique users. So our members are using our online services, diligently and frequently. Furthermore, last September, this is September of 2022, we implemented Zelle money transfer for our members. It's a way to, if you're not familiar with it, it's a convenient and very fast way to transfer funds to family members, friends, even if they have accounts at another financial institution. And our members have clearly embraced this new money transfer service, Zelle. So far since September, and the numbers going up each and every day, we've had over 150,000 Zelle transactions totaling $30 million. That's funds kind of going back and forth. Some sending funds out, some receiving funds back in. So again, over 150,000 transactions, moving more than $30 million and counting. So really excited. Whenever we roll out a new service, we're always kind of wondering, okay, will members take advantage of it? Well, we definitely see our members are taking advantage of it. And that's just since September. We expect more and more members will learn that we have it and continue to take advantage of it. Next, I want to highlight that we've made it easier and faster for members to open new accounts through the digital channel, like online or through your phone, with much improved navigation and pre-filled information with a new online account opening app. And this has been one of those areas that we had feedback on, that it just wasn't very easy if you wanted to open up a new account online. Now we've made dramatic improvements thanks to some great work by our team that included kind of some what's called design kind of engineering from the experts, and focus group feedback from many of our members on how we could improve the process. And not only did we improve the process to open an account online, we also made improvements over opening a new account in the branch. Just this first quarter of 2023, we rolled out a new platform that makes it easier for our team members and thus easier for our members and it takes far less time to open up new accounts. So it's a win-win. And in fact, a member could start opening up a new account online, and let's say they get partway through and then they realize they have some questions, or they're not sure in the best step, or they just have any kind of question, any kind of hesitation. They can stop where they are, go into the branch for a branch example, and our branch team member can help the member pick off where they left off on the online account process online, and they can help them complete it without losing any of the information they'd already put in. So our team has really done some great work there, and they've made it far easier, and we're seeing great results in terms of the number of members who complete that process. So really pleased to make those enhancements. We've been working on it for quite some time. So we also made improvements to the direct deposit process. It's often is a difficult thing to move direct deposit, say from another financial institution to Nuvision, or really to move it from anywhere from one to another. So we've been working on this. It's like it's a pain point, if you will, that we're trying to solve to make it easier for members to do banking with Nuvision. So we introduced Deposit Switch, is what we call it, which allows members to quickly and easily transfer direct deposits from other financial institutions to Nuvision. And we've seen good results of members taking advantage of that as well. Another example of how we're improving the experience is the daily debit card limit. So for some, as I mentioned earlier, we serve 5 different markets. So in some of the markets, we used to have a daily limit of $3,000. Now it's $5,000 for all members. And what that basically means is you can use your debit card more often on any particular day, because now there's a upper limit of a higher upper limit of $5,000, which allows you more flexibility on where you can use your Nuvision debit card. And we love it when you choose us. So those are just some of the highlights, especially related to some of the digital channels and cards and such. I also want to make sure you're aware of our high yield promotional certificates of deposits. Those are available on our website, and we send out various email campaigns. And we also are offering, if you're interested in a loan, a lot of our members have equity in their homes. And one of the ways to take advantage of that for various purposes, maybe it's a home improvement or other purposes, is to take advantage of our low rate home equity line of credit. So if you're in the market for either of these, we hope you'll check it out. So we know for thousands of our members, they utilize our in-branch banking, and we are continually looking to make locations more convenient and enhance the member experience when our members are at any of our locations. So last year, we opened up a new branch in Wasilla, Alaska, to replace an in-store location that we previously had. It's basically a small branch inside of a grocery store there in Wasilla, and it was just too small to serve the growing needs of the Wasilla community. So we were, as you can see the picture here, we were able to build out a freestanding brand new branch there in Wasilla, and it's larger and has enhanced services such as drive up, interactive teller machines, and plenty of parking with easy access at the branch. So we're really excited to be able to offer enhanced services there to our members in the growing community of Wasilla and the surrounding communities as well. And then later this month, we are scheduled to break ground for our planned relocation in Fairbanks, where basically the current location is just too small to effectively serve our members. So similar to what we did in Wasilla, this new site will be a freestanding, as just an illustration. We're just, we're breaking ground here soon. So it's going to be built this year. But this new site will have drive-through interactive teller machines that offer extended hours and plenty of parking for easy access. So we're excited to offer that to our members there in Fairbanks. And here in Southern California, we are beginning construction at a location in Long Beach, California, which is going to be convenient. We have many of our members in that Long Beach area, and it'll be especially convenient for many of our members who live in that area and currently visit our Bolsa branch. So both of these branches will be open later this year. Fingers crossed on construction schedules and such. So later this year is our hope, and we'll provide convenient access and great member experiences when visiting these new branches. So we're looking forward to our members checking them out. More to come when those are open and grand openings and such. And then, one of the, I talked about our purpose, community is one of the things where we try to very much support the communities in which we operate in. And in fact, this last year, I think our team supported 15 different community events. And they really varied in many times we're honoring or saying thanks to someone, we're raising funds or giving back. And in many instances, some of our community events, we're actually partnering with other of our community partners who are great at what they do. And we just try to amplify the good that they're already doing. So I asked the team if we could just highlight at least what we're doing here in May of this year. And you can see like Nurses Week appreciation and a lot coming up associated with Memorial Day to give thanks and honor veterans and active military and their families, who've done so much for our great nation. So that's a big one of the pillars, shall we say, of our community involvement, is to say thanks to our military and families. So we have a number of events that support those and many more. This is just May. We have events almost every single, well, I think it probably is every single month. Some have more than during some months than others. So if you're interested in learning more and in some of these events, it's something you might be able to participate in. If you have interest in that, if you contact us at marketing@nuvisioncu.org, then that would be great. We would love to see if you like to be involved. And so let us know. And I am getting closer to the Q&A. Said it wouldn't be a super long presentation. So we are nearing the wrap up to Q&A. Before we move on to the Q&A, I want to just remind you, Nuvision Insights as a webinar program we're going to do it a few times this year, assuming our survey feedback says it's valuable. But something else we've already been doing this year is a 2023 economic forecast series. So we had one in the first quarter of 2023, and we're planning to do them quarterly. So the next one is coming up on June 8th at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Now these webinars feature Dr. Christopher Thornburg from Beacon Economics. He's a fantastic economist and expert. And I think many of our members have great interest in what's going on with the economy and how to make sense of the various, news you might hear, particular indicators that are up or down that you might hear about, how to kind of translate that to what does that mean for, our communities, my business, my life, and maybe what to expect going forward. Will there be a recession? Will there not be a recession? If there is a recession, when will that be? So Chris can't tell you with, exact dates of the recession or such, but he has some great insights that I find really valuable. If I wasn't helping with the Q&A facilitation, I'd still be attending these sessions because I think they're so valuable. So they're free to our members. And again, all you have to do is register. So you can do that by clicking on our registered now link in the announcement on our blog and our website. And that'll take you to a landing page and you can register for this event. We'll send you a Zoom link, I think very similar to how you signed up for this particular Nuvision Insights event. So again, just another way we're trying to provide valuable information and insights to our members so we can be a resource to you. So as I promised, I said we'd get to Q&A and we're gonna get there now. So, as I mentioned a couple of times, let me just remind you, if you want to submit a question, you can use the Q&A icon at the bottom of the Zoom screen and then type in your question. What I'm going to do, you'll see I'm going to start kind of looking down at my phone because that's where I have my access to the questions. And I'm really pleased. I won't take the time to introduce them all, but I have a number of our senior leaders who are on this webinar with me, and you can see their pictures here on the screen. So if I don't have a particular answer, then I might call on them because they're very, very smart and very knowledgeable, particularly in their areas of expertise. And in some cases, if we don't have the answer kind of live, then we can certainly follow up by email. And again, I'll give you before we wrap up, I'll give you an email address that you can use to follow up with any additional questions you might have. But let me take a look at the screen here and see, see what we have in terms of questions. So are banks safer than credit unions? So my perspective on that is that banks and credit unions in the US The overwhelming majority of them are absolutely safe, as I mentioned earlier. And they all have, especially from like a depositor perspective, they all have, the vast majority, 99 point something percent of banks and credit unions, there are a few credit unions that have private insurance, but the vast majority have federal insurance. And because of that, and the federal insurance, I think it makes depositors very safe. Now, beyond that, I've talked about how Nuvision's different and our financial strength there, but it's, I think there's more reason to feel comfortable that banks and credit unions across the U.S. are very safe and sound overall. The banks that ran into trouble, in my view, and I'm not the only one who views it, they were really outliers. They do not represent kind of the common bank or credit union operation. So let me just kind of scan through here and see. So how do I know if my deposits are insured? So I talked some about that, the $250,000 at minimum. And then if you'd like to contact us to talk about your particular situation, let's say you have $300,000 on deposits, but it's in maybe more than one account. We can at least talk with you to make sure you're taking advantage of the full federal insurance, because as I alluded to in the presentation, many times there are opportunities to structure the accounts with joints, and the way we can maybe structure depending on your situation and the beneficiaries you may have to actually get far greater than just the $250,000 worth of federal insurance. In some cases, I think we've been able to get, help members get up to like $1 million in insurance. Let's see. So let me just, sorry, I've got a lot of questions here. I'm just trying to scan them. So, so when do we get to hear about your exposure to the banking crisis? So again, some of these questions may have even come in before I got through the whole presentation. In our view, we don't have exposure to the banking crisis because we're a credit union, we're different, we're not associated with any of those banks, and we're not even affected by the banking insurance fund. We have a separate fund. So in my view, unless it's a very kind of indirect exposure, we're not impacted. We're very different than these banks who ran into some trouble, as are the majority of banks, by the way. These were really outliers. There's 4,000 banks, 3 outliers. Majority of banks and credit unions are in pretty good shape overall. So let's see here. So here's another one. I've been using Zelle, that's that money transfer service that we talked about, is do you plan to increase the limits on Zelle? So this might be a good question for me to get some of my colleagues involved. I don't know, Lori Marshak, I think Lori has been one of our key leaders who has been kind of leading us up on Zelle. Lori, would you be able to maybe address that question? Or
absolutely. Yep, yeah, I can answer that.
Okay.
So the good news is we have had Zelle in place for just over 6 months now. And in that time, we've been able to evaluate all of the behaviors to make sure that we're mitigating risk. So today we are evaluating those limits to make sure we can better serve the members as well as still maintain, mitigate the risk.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Lori. So we'll continue to evaluate kind of those limits, I think, as Lori said. And so thank you, Lori. And this might be, so let me mention this question. I'm thinking, Chris, this might be for you, but I'll let you defer otherwise. The question is, and I'll do my best, is there a limit at Nuvision on the amount of money a customer may be removed from their savings, or does the government dictate Nuvision rules?
No, technically, this is something I'm going to paint with a broad brush. Technically, there's no limit to the amount you can withdraw. If the money is there and it's available, you should be able to withdraw it. We will give you counsel on some of the best ways to do that. So, for example, wiring funds is always a much more secure option than transferring large amounts of cash. So but there is no government limits on it. So if it is something that you need to do as far as a large withdrawal, I would just encourage you to call us up so that we can discuss all the different options to make sure that you do it safe and sound.
Great, thank you, Chris. And Chris, while I have you, I don't think you're running anytime soon, but since you're off mute for the moment, there's another question over regarding branches you might be able to address. The question is, are you planning on opening any new branches in Arizona?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're working on a couple different things. For the members that are familiar with our branch at the Boeing facility, we do have a branch on the premises of Boeing. We're really excited that we're working to moving to a more central location within Boeing. It's larger, it'll be very modern, very nice. We are also actively searching for what will be our first public location in Phoenix. And we're very, very confident that we'll get that opened in 2024. And there's some really good possibilities that, it could be earlier in 2024 versus later. But that is in the plans. We're actively searching, and I think we're very close to finding a site. So look for our first public Phoenix location late this year, early next year.
Thank you, Chris. And Chris, maybe just check me on this, that sort of like earlier or later timeframe you're describing. I think that pertains to, we've been looking for a location for a while, and a great convenient location is certainly, in our criteria. But I think ultimately the timing difference is going to depend on whether we find a kind of existing kind of retail location that we just, that's already, the structure's already built and we can just, so we say customize as a branch versus a brand new construction, which will take a little longer. Is that right? Is that the key factor?
That's a really good way to, that's one of the factors and one of the key factors. With the number of people moving into Phoenix, real estate is as a priority for many different people. So there's a lot of different businesses and things moving in. So it's a combination of finding the right spot in the right location, and then also, whether we're going to be a storefront or a ground up, that will impact it as well.
Great. Thank you for those insights, Chris. Helpful. Another question that I guess maybe I can comment on unless one of my colleagues has more, because I have, the question is, are you going to go to digital currency? So the short answer is, so we've never been involved, for example, in like cryptocurrency and such. We know some of our members are, because we've, we can see transactions in the accounts, but we've never gone down that road. In digital currency, I do have a little bit of knowledge. I've read a little bit that actually I think is the Federal Reserve is doing some research and like a pilot program with digital currency, but it's not something that, that we're planning on going to unless it really become mainstream. Often what we'll do is we really, in many times, I'd say the majority of the time, respond to what our members are looking for. If they ask us for things and they're looking for something from us that we don't do today, we tend to look at it hard. The other thing is, if we start to see really an industry trend among other banks and credit unions, or just among consumers, then that's another kind of you might say, if we see that as a trend, it's another like input to our decision making of, gee, maybe we ought to start looking at that, and maybe even start some member survey work or focus groups around getting some member input if that would be interest. But at this time, we have no plans to go into digital currency. I think it's more in kind of even at the Fed level, at the in more of the pilot stage. So I don't know. I'll ask my other colleagues if there's any other comments, especially if I got anything wrong there. I don't think I did though, but anything to add from my well-qualified colleagues? Okay, not hearing anything there. So let me go through, let's see, sorry, just lost my place. I've had some instances last year of having a long wait time in the contact center. Is that going to be improved? Lori, would you be able to speak to that? So it's like when members are calling us.
Hi, Roger. Absolutely. So I would say in 2022, we were plagued with the Great Resignation, like a lot of other call centers as a whole, not just financial institutions, but call centers as a whole. Fortunately, we're in a good position now. We're fully staffed. We have a team that is well-trained and member-focused. So we have we're striving to provide best in class service, and we are providing levels of service now that are far greater, far improved over the last few years. So we're in a great place now. Hopefully, maybe you're still, members are still remembering what was going on, last year, and hope that you will call into the contact center again if you have needs. Don't hesitate just because you had a bad experience before. There's been some great improvement there.
Great, thank you, Lori. Switching gears here, just kind of looking as I read them here is, the question is, were all the deposits of the failed banks covered by the federal government, even those above the FDIC limit? So the short answer, based on my understanding, and I've read a lot on this, is yes, they were covered. And they're particularly in two cases before. Part of the way they did that was that, and I forget I may get some of the technical names wrong, but I think they basically classified them. There's a kind of a governmental protocol for this as systematically important, and that allowed them to cover all the deposits, even those, there was, I alluded to some, kind of companies like startups and some wealthy individuals who had dramatically higher deposits than the federal insurance limits. Those deposits, as well as any others, were protected. So at these failed institutions. So that's why, where I was mentioning earlier, the good news is depositors were protected. Now, stockholders in those banks were not protected, but the depositors at all those banks were protected. So I think that hopefully answers that questions. And I wouldn't want our CFO not to, have an opportunity here. Brian, this one I think might be for you. At least I think you'd be better than me. Here, the question is, did you earn a positive return on Nuvision investments last year? How about 2023?
Thanks, Roger. Good question. Yes, we did earn a positive return on the investments last year. We actually do have a pretty conservative investment strategy where, we don't invest too long. We get cash flow back regularly on the investments. There are some fixed rate components to that, but we also have variable rate components, which, as rates rise, those variable rate components allows us to improve that yield. So 2022 did see a positive return, and 2023 is seeing a little bit of a better return now with the rates continuing to rise.
Great. And Brian, I think, we talk about kind of how we're different. One of the ways is, and I want you to keep me honest here in terms of make sure I don't get it technically wrong, because you're closer to the numbers than I am. But, compared to, some institutions, we, on a proportional basis, we have a much smaller investment portfolio because from a philosophy standpoint, and Lily, our chief credit officer, can relate to this, we love to make loans to our members. And so the investments are really, when we're not able to loan out all of our funds, we have investments more as a, kind of a second choice. We try to certainly make that to be positive for the credit union, as you just noted, but we really, as a first choice, like to make loans to our members. Did I get that right, do you think?
Absolutely. We do like to, help out depositors and borrowers as well. That's one of the functions that we, help provide as a credit union, is to, provide services to both and help, partner up them essentially, with those depositor fund, being able to loan it out to other members who are in need. And that does allow us to, better, utilize those funds. And so the investment portfolio is used as a cushion there, and is used really just to return cash flow back to the credit union.
Great, thank you. Another question, I'm probably going to wrap up with a couple more here, and then I will we can follow up on some of these with email, because I was just kind of at time, but let me take two more. The status of commercial, Tara, this might be a good one for you. If you might, the status, I'll read the whole thing. I haven't read it yet, all of it, but I'll start here. The status of commercial real estate is stated to be at risk. I think that's alluding to some of the news reports, which I've read as well. What is Nuvision's exposure to the investment lending in commercial real estate market? Tara, do you have any insights to share on that?
Sure. Nuvision, specifically Nuvision's exposure is about 63% of our regulatory net worth. So 63% of our net worth is taken up by the commercial real estate segment. I would say that as far as it being at risk, that's probably true in the market, but there is deep equities. So you do have a lot of commercial real estate owners that have a lot of equity, and those, if values are deteriorating, those are being absorbed by those equities. So how we're dealing with that is we're diversified. So 50% of our portfolio is approximately in California. The rest of it is between Alaska, Arizona, Washington, numerous other states. So Texas, we're well diversified in those areas. And then also our diversification goes to not just one segment of commercial real estate. We have retail, we have industrial, we have multifamily. So when you look at that concentration or that exposure of 63%, it's very well balanced. And so when we look at the overall risk profile of the portfolio, we see it as very good.
Great, thank you, Chair. And I think especially, at least the news reports I've heard, I think the concern, and you're likely aware of them as well, that I suspect this member might be the reason he or she is asking, is that, you know, with the interest rates being higher and those who have to refinance, and some maybe having more challenges to refinance, I suspect that's where that question's coming from. Is that what you're thinking? Or I know you follow this closer than I do even.
Yeah, the ability to repay. So if rents are going down, I think Roger, you're spot on. The other concern is also some of these larger commercial real estate buildings, very, you know, big, like the there's several big buildings where COVID has caused a significant amount of vacancies, right? So we don't have a lot of that in our portfolio where you have multiple 40-floor buildings and stuff like that. That's just not the type of portfolio that we have. So those types of, that's what's caused the commercial real estate portfolio to be at risk, is a carryover from COVID as well.
Great. Thank you, Chair. Those are really great insights. One last question. I haven't had one of these yet, and I don't actually know how many questions we have because I'm not all the way full the list, but if you ask a question with your name and you gave us your email address, you know, as part of the registration, we'll be able to follow up with you. So, and if you didn't do that somehow and you're part of this and you didn't, I'm going to give you an email address so we can follow up on your questions. But let me just take one. Here's one topic I haven't had so far is, and I'm not sure, this might be Lord, but I'm not actually sure who might be best on this, and we may have to follow up on it, is the question is, I'd like to download my account data directly into QuickBooks, but it frequently fails with Nuvision, but not with other banks. Is this a known issue being worked on? And I don't know, Lori, we have Jyoti, our IT, SVP of IT. I guess yes. the main question is, do we know about this? And are we working on it? Or is this something maybe we should note down? Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, Roger. This is Jyoti.
Hi.
We haven't heard about this issue, and I'm glad someone brought it to our attention. Whoever brought it to our attention, if you could send us an email in the email ID that Roger provides, we will definitely look into it.
Okay, and we may have it. Looks like their name is on this. I won't state it, but we may have it as well. You know, we have a first name here, but we may have an associated email address as well. So thank you, Jyoti. So great. Well, I know we'll follow up on the additional questions, but I just want to, you know, really wrap us up by saying thank you for participating. You know, we're going to be, as I alluded to, we're going to be sending out a survey from us, because the thought is, you know, just trying to, you know, have some more frequent communication with our member owners, provide you updates, get your questions, do so in a pretty timely way. So if you have, you know, we're going to send a survey for everyone who gave us their email address for this. We'll send out a survey. We'd really appreciate your feedback. You know, what worked well and what might be topics that you'd like us to touch on in the next Nuvision Insights webinar. All of them, at least my expectation is, will include a Q&A time, at least for, you know, a brief time frame, and have an email follow-up as well. And so I would love to have your feedback, because I'm interested in what you think, and you know, how we can improve. And you know, more than anything, I just want to really thank you for joining this webinar. It was great to have an opportunity to connect with our member owners. And you know, if you do have anything else either you want to, email that you didn't think of, you think of later, or if you don't think we have your email address by the way you registered, or at least the correct one, you can, looking, make sure I get the email address right here. You can email us at the address Nuvision Credit Union. So it's just Nuvision Credit Union, all spelled out, at nuvisioncu.org. And we'll make sure that you receive a response as well. So again, I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for your membership. We know you have choices, and we are the first one to say that we are always looking to get better. We know there's areas that we're far from perfect, but I can tell you we strive every day to serve our members, and in areas where we need to improve, we're really focused on working to make those improvements. And we really appreciate your business, and I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to attend this session, and look forward to having you at future sessions. I hope you'll attend the Beacon Economics webinar coming up on June 8th. That's another opportunity to learn more and ask Dr. Thornburg some questions about the economy. So also a big shout out to our marketing team and my other colleagues who are with me to help answer questions. They put together this webinar and helped with all the logistics and such. So I'm very grateful. I get to talk, but there's a lot of people who deserve credit to actually making this happen. So again, we value your membership, we value your feedback, and we are so appreciative that you're part of the Nuvision Credit Union family. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time, and we look forward to having you at a future session. Thank you. Bye now.